Hi everyone, so I'd like to show you this simple project that I built using Python, and this project has got a very nice graphical user interface that has been built using Tkinter. Some people call it Tkinter, others call it Tkinter, so it's basically the same thing. And the good part about Tkinter is that it's part of the standard library and you don't have to install this module if you want to use it in your projects. So straight into the application, we've got the navigation side here, which shows you all the sites that have been created. So this is just the graphical user interface, and we're able to search for the site that we want. So let me just search for Livingstone. So for these sites I used towns in Zambia. So Livingstone, this is the site. We can try to open it by double clicking. So once you double click, it will open up this site here in the notebook widget. So I can just do backspace and I go back to the main list. I can open another site. As you can see here, this has opened another site, which is Chipata, in another tab in the notebook widget. So from here, the most important things that you can see, obviously, we've got a number of components. We've got the battery. So on the battery, so this device shows you the voltage and also the current. Then you have other devices like the fuel meter, okay, which shows you the level of the fuel in the tank. There's also temperature, humidity, though these have not been fully configured and they are still disabled, but once we do the configuration, it should be able to show us the values. Then here on the site values, this has been done in sections. We've got the first section, which shows you the power source. As the name suggests, the power source indicates where we are getting our power from. So there are three sources of power. You can either have grid, generator, or solar. So depending on which power source is currently on, it is going to appear in green. So as it stands, this is grid. Then on the section for the grid, we are able to see the actual voltages that we are getting from the supply. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we've got the voltage and the corresponding current. Then same applies to the generator. We've got the phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, with the corresponding values as well for voltage and current. Then for DC power meter, this section, this is basically, the solar energy that we are getting. So all these have been integrated, and we also have the alarms. So on the alarms, currently I've only done one alarm, which is battery low alarm. So this alarm, when the battery voltage is less than the threshold which has been set in the system, this alarm will be flashing like that, just to draw the user attention. If we open this other site, we find that the voltage here is different and this alarm has not been triggered. So this is responsive. It's supposed to work in real time, and this information is coming from the database. So just to show you how this is interacting, I'll try to I don't know the best approach that I can use for this, but I'll just try to log into the MySQL database, because this is what is being used on the back end. So this is just a quick overview of the system. So I need to log in MySQL. So I'm logging in as root and I'm authenticating using the password. Okay, I hope I still remember the password. Let me try again. I hope this works. Okay, so let's try to log into the MySQL database. Okay, so MySQL, and I'm logging in as root, and I'm authenticating using the password. Okay, I hope I still remember the password. Alright, so we are into the system. We have logged on to the database. So here we'll use test, which is the name of our database for this project. Okay, so from here we can show the tables using the show tables command. As you can see here, we've got the DC meter, the flag, the fuel meter, humidity meter, site, and temperature meter. So here in my scripts backend, we have a number of classes. So these classes represent the various tables that we have in the database. So we are authenticating by making this connection to the database. Okay, so, and this is on my local machine. It's running on my computer, so the host is just the local host. Then the user is root, and that is the default password that we have, and the database is test. As you can see here, I'm using a variable which is test, and which has been set to this value of test. So it's the same as us just typing in here manually test. So we are making this connection to the database. Okay, then using this connection we're able to create our cursor, and the cursor in this case is the object that allows us to interact with our database, like creating tables and making queries to the database. So for that we are using the cursor, and whenever we change anything we need to commit so that MySQL knows that these changes should be stored permanently. So it's the same as just as saving whatever changes we have made. Okay, so we need to commit. So this is just a quick overview, but I'm interested in the classes. So we have a number of classes. Okay, site, and this site class, okay, we are initializing it. As you can see here, this is the init method. So from our init method we are able to initialize our class and provide some default values that we would want for that specific site. So when you are creating a site, you need to pass in the site ID, the site name, and also the address, as well as the SIM. So these will be the default values, and when we use this method, the save method, this will just wrap everything, and it will abstract some queries that we are making, and you don't have to worry about what is going on. So this is just for us to be able to interact with the database in a much easier way, and just to make our work very easy to understand. And if we are working in a team, the developers do not need to know exactly how this code has been written. They just need to know what methods are there in this class and what are they doing. So this is basically it. So we also have a class for the DC meter. We have a similar approach where you have to initialize, and by default you need to know the site ID where you want to create that DC meter. Then you need to know as well the voltage. So this is a float. Okay, so you can pass in some default values as you are creating this device. So basically this is what we have, and these are the methods and these are the classes and the methods that we are using to interact with our database. So just to show you, I think I can just look at let me check. Okay, we are here. This is the site Livingstone. So Livingstone is site reg 120. Okay, so that is the site ID. So let me just make a query. Select select all from site where site ID equals, that is site reg 120. I hope I have not made any mistake. So we have made this query and we want to see just this specific record, and clearly, okay, this is the site ID, that is the site name, that is the address, this is the SIM card number, and this site was created on this date and it has never been modified. Okay, and this ID that you are seeing here, this is the primary key. So from our design here, okay, as we are creating this table, so here we are executing this command, okay, to create this table, okay, if it does not exist. So whenever you import this file in main, where we are so here what is basically happening, we are creating this site, okay, so it has got an ID, so which is the primary key, and it auto increments. So meaning for every site that you create, a unique ID will be assigned to it, and it will be an integer, okay, because of this is an int and this is the primary key, auto increment, and this will never be null. So meaning we should always have a value provided into this field. So the first site that we create, it will have an ID of 1. This ID is the primary key, which should not be confused with the site ID. The site ID is what the user provides. Then we've got the site name, which is a variable character, and this should not be null as well. Then you've got the address, the SIM, then you've got the created date time, modified date time. So this is our table, and if you want to clearly see how this table is defined, you can just use the describe command. So we want to describe this table. As you can see here, these are the fields that we have: ID, site name, address, SIM, created date time, modified date time. Yeah, so basically this is getting all the information from the database. And one table which I find very, very interesting, so this I called it flag. So a flag is something which is supposed to draw your attention. So these are the alarms. So let me just try to describe. Okay, let me check. So clearly we've got a number of flags. So these are the alarms. So each alarm has to be associated to a specific site, and we have site ID which is our foreign key. So whenever you create a site, it will be assigned a unique site ID. So like in the case of Livingstone, the site ID is 21. Okay, so if you want to set a flag, for example, battery voltage low, you have to specify which site you are targeting, and whatever you set will be associated with that site. The back-end logic is able to figure out, okay, from the sites, which alarms are active, which ones are not. So here it is entirely dependent on the user, how they want this to be configured. So you can add as many alarms as you want. So this is the logic, you know, behind the alarms. So let me just check the records that we have. Okay, select So I just want to see all the flags that have been set. Select. So let me just select all from flag, okay, which is the name of our table. Wow, we've got quite a number of flags. As you can see, some are 0, some are 1. So 1 means true, 0 means false. So these are Boolean data types. Okay, so site ID number 21. Do we have 21? 21. Okay, struggling with this. I need a mouse. Number 21, as you can see here, battery voltage low. It is 1, meaning this alarm has been set to true. So just to demonstrate, okay, let me just run this and I'll try to alter the status of that alarm. Okay, no, okay, let me just okay, Livingston, as you can see, this alarm is active. So let us set this to false. So as the developer, you have to know which condition should trigger this alarm. Okay, so let me just modify this. This is record number what? Sure. I want to get instead of creating a new one, let me just insert something new. Okay, insert into flag. Okay, so we need the site ID and what we are changing. I hope okay, this is just too much data. This is just too much data. Okay, site ID. So what we need is the site ID, okay, which is okay, I think it was 21. So we are targeting this alarm. Okay, battery voltage low. So let me just see if I can just copy this to avoid typing, you know, everything. So for this site we want to, so this is site 21. Okay, we want to set this to 0. I hope this will work. As you can see, the alarm has disappeared. Okay, let's set this to 1. The alarm has been triggered. Cool, isn't it? So let me just do it again. Let me set it to 0. Okay, let's see what will happen. It has disappeared. Let's set it to 1. So this is how this is able to interact with our database, and the same applies to the battery voltage. But you know, you need to be very careful with the alarms, because you have to define certain conditions which should trigger these alarms. So basically, this is our system, and this is how it's working, and this has been built with Tkinter on the front end for the graphical user interface, and also on the back end we have MySQL, which is running on localhost. So I think This is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to my channel, and look out for more interesting projects.